Hey guys, Shane here at Tank Miniatures with Josh,
Hello, hello.
and today we're going through the tier list for the classic Westwood slash EA RTSs. So these were, of course, pretty much the start. Westwood just, yeah, I don't want to say invented it, but they kind of did.
It's definitely my childhood in this list right here.
Yeah, same. Like I did in the other video where I talked about why there were tanks in June and the whole starting of June 2.
Mm.
Yeah, that was pretty much they wanted to make a game that was the RTS, and they just happened to have access to the June franchise, so they said, "Oh, we'll just post this skin onto it." And because of that, they were able to make then Command and Conquer, and the story goes from there. So I haven't actually. There's a couple of these I haven't actually played. I'll just be honest, but you have. You can fill the gap.
Yep.
Um, so let's get right into it. So first one is June 2. This, if you look at the timeline, this was first.
hmm
So yeah, this was mostly me and Dad playing this. Well, mostly me watching him, as I was a tiny child at the time.
It is such a long time ago, and it was just this. It was completely different from pretty much any of the games that had come before.
Well, that's it. Most times you played either side-scrolling and platforming, and
Mm.
or you had weird. I guess Sim City was out at the time. Pretty much anything Amiga based, like you had sort of city builder stuff, but you didn't really have a combat type thing.
Yeah, but here we are with this. Start
Um,
here.
and yeah, it was fun how it sort of it never really took over June as like it never set itself in the universe, but it never set itself in the story. It was
Mm.
just this side thing that was happening and wasn't explained upon. So
Well, I mean,
that's
every Dune game basically that isn't hard to the lore does this. Like all three of the Dune games on this list contain something called House Ordos that never appeared in any of the official lore.
no. I just love that Frank Herbert actually did enjoy them though. He actually was
That's
he
good.
was a fan.
Mm.
So June 2, of course, yeah, pretty revolutionary. The whole base building, harvesting, like the game didn't change. Games didn't change for a long time from the basics of what it did. That being said, though, where do you place it? Because it's playable now, but
Mm.
not really enjoyable.
No, and it's everything that we've come to accept as like minimum standards is unthinkable at the time. But if we were to judge by modern standards, it's very, very crude.
I think I'd still have to say give it an A. I'd have to put it in A tier.
Yeah, it's the grandfather. It's the predecessor. It is how the whole thing started.
Yeah, like I can still watch it. Like going through now and watching the speed runs of it where they just do tower rushing, and I'm like, I didn't even think of that. Just getting modern tactics into the old game and just breaking it like that is just it's outstanding.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, tactics we didn't even think of back in the day. So it's definitely an A. Yeah, because it's definitely wouldn't have anything without it. But yeah, even like the it's not even remastered, just sort of ways people have fixed it. It's so old it can't really be fixed. Like you can't have a multiple select multiple models. You can't have build order chains. It's very clunky.
Yeah.
While it's with Command and Conquer. So of course that was their next thing, straight thing. It was like, all right, we'll do an actual, you know, regular war. You know, Europe versus. Well, Nod wasn't really. They were kind of based in Africa, but not really.
Yeah, I mean, the original one was when the lore started. The Tiberium was just starting to spread. Nod was coming to the fore, and it's like, yeah, well, it is partly in Africa, but also partly in like Italy and the Baltics.
Yeah.
and it's just trying to tug of war over what was considered the more toxified, or, and I'm using this as a very loaded phrase, less valuable ground. And there was like a very strong message of neither side really cared that much for the civilians living in the area, but they love paying lip service and using them as symbols. And I'm like, ooh, that's getting steadily more accurate, isn't it?
That's it. Um, because yeah, I think what Nod did was basically set up its own insurrectionists and got countries to sort of fight themselves to sort of bring themselves into power. So the story was, pretty good. Um, and the fun thing about this one was just like it did try and tie itself in realism for the first Command and Conquer game, sort of like the first Mad Max movie. Like you recognized everything as just being in normal life. Like yeah, they had normal tanks. Yeah, they had some pretty cool technology that was very different, but it was pretty grounded in reality. I will say for the I did have a look into the whatchamacallits, the expansions, and they're
Mm.
just more or less the same.
Yeah,
Um,
they did have an interesting one. Uh, what's it called? It was
well,
Soul Survivor.
yeah,
That was its whole own uh that was like its whole own genre spun off of the strategy game.
yeah, and the one where you fight dinosaurs is kind of funny, but
Oh yeah.
it feels very out of place. It kind of takes you out of it.
Mhm, mhm.
um, but I think again on playable, like the way it is, it's very much the same as June 2. It's very slow and like I tried to play it on like a simulator and just you can't make like getting the timing right for adjusting it for like modern speeds of processing. It just can't really work. I think they're fixed in like the remastered ones. I think.
Yeah, and you
Uh,
can play it on like one of that infamous play one for like that plays all the old games. But yeah, it's a different pace, it's a different speed. The game's slower.
yeah, so it's very hard to get back into it. So I'd say probably give it an A as well.
Yeah, it's the fundamental one. It's if you didn't play Dune 2, this is how you got into the genre.
Pretty much, and yeah, like I said, a lot of it had a lot of fun missions in as well. Like all the GI missions were good. It gave you a different way to play the game, so that was always interesting.
Yep.
But overall, it just relied on just tank rushing. Just wait till you could get the biggest tanks and just swarming him in.
Pretty much.
But yeah, Command and Conquer was pretty good. Like I said, latest game, it sort of got very samey. Um, Not a lot of variety in it, but it's still good. And then straight on from there, you had Red Alert,
Yeah,
and
like CNC was September 95, November 96, Red Alert, just straight off the bat.
they pretty much they didn't have to do anything. It's just pretty much a different skin on the same game. And Red Alert was even see. I like this where it shifted because then Red Alert turned. Oh, we'll be actual like post World War II. We'll do actual like very more realistic side. Whilst Command and Conquer was this made up sort of war.
Well,
Um,
then they started to diverge from it
well,
because
they do very much so, but it's all these weird alternate history strands.
yeah, and like the principle is, what if Einstein just made a time machine, walked back in time, and killed Hitler, like erased Hitler from the timeline entirely?
Yep, yep. But it still, of course, is very communist is bad. They
Mm,
didn't
mm.
stop that theory. Uh, but overall, I'd say it is kind of a better game than Command and Conquer One because you had a lot more different style of units. It did experiment with more like different things. Like you had dogs, you had very specific units
Hmm.
that did one job and such.
And it did have those no build missions, which they were set up in such a way that you had to keep trying at them because they had basically instant loss conditions.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
was a
care if
fun
your
obstacle
commando
course.
is. Yeah, it's a fun obstacle course with flamethrower towers and Tesla towers. But
Yeah,
the one thing this one did, which would break from much of the pattern of the entire Command and Conquer series, Command and Conquer games have a canonical ending, where usually the air quotes good guys win and the bad guys lose. Red Alert, both endings have a canonical sense in that if the Allies win, you go on to Red Alert 2. If the Soviets win, that becomes Command and Conquer because Stalin has a recognizable but mysterious advisor behind his back
yeah,
who,
that's
at the
right.
end of the Soviet ending, shoots him.
Yeah, you have that in the back of in both of them. Kane is there in both the Allies and the Axis' victory,
Yep.
and it was very weird because you don't see him in any of the other Red Alert games. He was just
No,
there in the first one for some reason.
you see, I have a theory, and it's not substantiated by anything and probably contradicted in more than a few places. But I always had the theory that in the Red Alert timeline, Kane becomes Yuri.
Well, yeah, that would make sense. I don't. Is it the same actor that plays him?
No,
Oh, I didn't
definitely
think so.
didn't.
It is funny how it's the same actor through all the Command and Conquer games.
And he never ages. What the heck?
In the fourth one, you see his neck's getting a bit thick,
Yeah.
but that'll happen.
Yep.
Um, does Red Alert deserve an S or stick with A?
I think we stick with a. It's a strong contender, but there's definitely, to my mind, better titles in this series.
It was also funny because playing the expansion brings in what's the Colonel guy with the toothpick and two, the Texas guy.
Carville.
Carville. Carville's actually in the cutscenes for Red Alert 2, the expansion ones.
Yep.
But he's not in like the main game. So they sort of bring him in just for the expansions, and then he gets to stay on for the second and third
Well,
game.
he's popular. You can't say the man's not popular.
But
Hell, he gets a promotion. You make him a general.
Yeah, it's just funny how he was like a secondary. It's like we don't have the same guys to bring back for the first game for the expansion, and then it's like, all right, we will. He becomes the main character for the second.
Absolutely.
So that's always good. I like that the cutscenes were a really good choice for the game, just to bring that realism to it. You could really get immersed, and yeah, it's interesting how it's gone from there. What was after Red Alert? Red Alert was then.
Red Alert was November '96. The next one was Tiberian Sun in August of '99.
Oh, in that case, no. Before was June 2000. Then 2000 came out
Yep.
in '98, I think.
There you go.
So June 2000. It's pretty much a complete just remastering of June 2. It's the same storyline, just with updated everything. They took everything from David Lynch's Dune set. Like they literally redid the stuff from the movie. And it brought back like June into the popular sort of zeitgeist. It brought a lot of people talking about that again. I went through that in the other June video. So June 2000 was actually really good because the graphics in it was such a step up as well. Like it was so well drawn. Like all the static effects and everything for the buildings and stuff. It was, yeah, everything had a lot of detail. Everything looked really smooth. It had a lot more, and like I said, it's pretty much the same thing as June 2, but it had a lot more fun stuff in it. Everything just sort of acted the same. But, yeah, it just had so much more depth to it. And it really did expand, like, the story. You really felt like you were part of the different factions. And, like, how, yeah, you really wanted to replay it. Like, even though it's basically the same game, there's a variety of missions. You know, not every mission is exactly the same, but they are, you know, fundamentally the sort of the same. But every faction was so different in the story it was saying. And you could see the progression there. Like the Atreides, like with their relationship with the Fremen, the Harkonnen just becoming more and more evil and just devouring more and more of the land, and then you see them just becoming more and more corrupted, and then you're not sure whose side of the Emperor they're even on,
Hmm.
and it's this whole ultimate betrayal thing. So it just really made the story so much more replayable and more interesting.
Especially the campaign has this overarching map of Arrakis where you're literally going territory by territory by your own choice. Like the whole thing feels like it's under your control instead of Red Alert or Command and Conquer where you're told and maybe given a choice.
Yeah, you had a couple in the first game. Yeah, of which sort of map you took. There was a couple options, which did give good replayability. But yeah, this really expanded on everything. Um, and it is funny. It's like the different factions have, you have the same unit, but they have slightly different stats. So Ordus
Mm.
units were weaker, but they were faster, and it was never explained anywhere. That was just a how they had their
Just
programming.
got to get it by vibe.
Yeah, you things weren't explained.
Mm.
So I do want to give that an S.
Fair. I think it's really it was the last of its kind, and it had patched everything up. By the time you hit Tiberian Sun, the engine changes, the principle of the game changes, and it just becomes its whole own beast.
Well, was Tiberian Sun before Red Alert 2?
Yeah, Red Alert 2 was in October 2000, so it's basically a full year before.
Yeah, so Tiberium Sun was pretty much the same time as June 2000. And it's very much it's like a slight upgrade from Command and Conquer. You see just in graphics it is similar, like yeah, June 2000 and Tiberium Sun, very like how it feels, like it's very smooth to play and everything. But Tiberium Sun just went in a really weird direction.
Yeah,
Uh,
look, they were doing a lot of experimental stuff with this one, and I can get with that. The big thing this one added was height maps and terrain deformation. So, like, when you were going up a hill, you could very plainly see your units going up a hill. And then if your base got shelled with artillery, sometimes it was bad enough that the terrain would deform, and you're like, oh, guess I'm never building there again, huh?
that was cool. That was cool. Um, like the way the story it turns straight into Sci-Fi Channel.
Yep.
Yeah, the whole story chain from, like I said, there was the divergence where you had Command and Conquer was like sort of based in realism, and then it split off to be staying in realism for Red Alert, and then turning completely sci-fi for Tiberium. But then Red Alert, of course, turned completely weird and hacky for the storyline for that, and then
Oh, they brought in so many famous actors for the AMVs. Like
yeah,
what was
well,
his name?
for Red Alert 2, um, you didn't really have anyone too famous for that yet. Tiberium Sun, no, Command and Conquer 3 you did. You had Billy D. Williams in Command and Conquer 3.
Yep.
You had Michael Ironside in Command and Conquer 3.
But in Tiberian Sun, you had James Earl Jones.
That's
And
right, James L. Jones.
who was McNeil? Give me a second.
Um, yeah, so it was fun, but like I said, it turned straight into sci-fi, and now we're in this dystopian futurescape. So it felt like everything felt very grimy and very bleak. It
Hmm.
felt like we were on a whole different planet with Tiberian Sun. So it felt like such a weird jump in what you're doing from the first game to the second.
Oh, that's who it was. It was Michael Bean. He was Kyle Reese in the first Terminator.
Ah, that makes sense. Yeah. So they got these Terminator, you got all these sci-fi.
Yeah, like you were going hard sci-fi. You
Like I
had
said, Mike.
cyborgs, you had walkers.
Yeah, you had it went so weird in
Mm.
where it was. The biggest problem I had was the UI on this. If you look at like the way you play it, you had so many more buildings, so many more units.
Mm.
It became what's it called when you have too many things? It's like choice paralysis.
Choice paralysis. Yep.
Yeah, so it got very clunky because you had all these weird options, but it's sort of like when you go from playing Civ 5 to playing Civ Beyond Earth, and
Mm.
everything is now just weird sci-fi name. It's just sci-fancy that you don't really, you can't relate to what you're seeing. You can't,
Yeah.
it just, oh, okay, I guess that looks cool. I'll do that, but you don't really know fully what it's there for.
Mm.
And when you do that, you have all this sci-fi stuff in it. Nothing really makes sense anymore.
Mm.
So
Mm.
that was the biggest problem with the game. I didn't quite understand. You had multiple stuff that did the same thing, and then they overly complicated because I think you to build one turret you had to build the base, and then you had to build a
Yep.
different thing from it rather than just clicking it and just saying upgrade to this one, like in Warcraft 2, just build a cannon tower or a watchtower. You
Yeah.
could have just
And,
done that.
in all honesty, yeah, it was trying to do a lot of stuff. Not everything worked. Like, uh, you had a complete disparity of super weapons between the two factions. One of them could basically delete just about any building it liked, and the other one would wipe out half of your base. Oh, and the one that wiped out half of your base, you got a different super weapon on top of that. You had the one that really annoyed me was playing against Nod. They would have their stealth generators, which would mean I'd have to spend the entire game hunting down tiny little tucked away cloaked bases all over the map, and I'd never know by the time it was done.
That is true. Yeah, if you look at a lot of the let's plays and a
Hmm.
lot of the long plays, Tiberium Sun just takes the longest because the maps are really wide and they're really like scarce with anything on them. It's very bleak, so it's hard to spot everything. The game needed a better wind condition for a lot of the missions. I feel.
Mm, mm.
So I'll give Tiberian Sun probably a B.
Yeah, I think it's the campaign is strong. The gameplay mechanics are new but clunky and hard to use.
Also, the expansion for it, I had to look through that, and it added nothing. It literally added nothing, and there was like the cutscenes had one person in it. Like, yeah, the cutscenes were like not even worth watching.
Pretty much, pretty much. It did add, I would argue, the coolest cyborg unit,
Ah, okay.
but beyond that, eh.
Yeah, so because of that, as yeah, I just Tiberium Sun just didn't really click for me as much as the other ones did. But then we had, do we have Red Alert 2 or we had Generals next?
Red Alert 2, Generals isn't for a few more years.
Ah, cool. I know that was pretty soon though. So Red Alert 2 was, I think it was the last of like the non 3D maps when you were still
Mm.
um yeah, it was still like pixel art.
Yeah,
But Red Alert 2, that added so much more fun components. It still had all the same stuff from the other guys. So you still had base building, you still had resource mining, but you had all this fun, unique stuff. It took everything from the first Red Alert and just sci-fi'd it up again, but
yeah, and
in a really fun way.
exactly. It was smooth. It was genuinely nice. And rather than what would be argued, like the first one, the Allies are tinkering around with sci-fi stuff and they cause a whole new war. This time around, it's the Soviets and they're tinkering around with a wholly different sci-fi that's like, okay, we're going to invade the United States from every direction. It was the first Command and Conquer game to have major military operations in the continental United States, and I think that really resonated with a lot of the player base.
Well, exactly. I mean, the intro alone is just, oh, it's so good. It's the best thing ever. I mean, all the games just had the perfect soundtrack. Frank Kalepsky is just a genius at what he does.
Fantastic, absolutely.
But I really liked how most units had like, some had like secondary abilities. Like they all had the unique thing, but it wasn't like overwhelming. You never had to really worry too much about microing too hard.
Hmm.
And you had, but yeah, there were so many fun combinations of things you could do. You could then get into the buildings. You could then, yeah, garrison a building.
Garrisoning buildings was a huge defensive upgrade. You've got these urban maps, which in older games are just like, so what? It's a bunch of stuff getting in the way. Now Red Alert's here saying, no, you can put guys in there and it'll blockade the entire enemy coming at you.
Yeah, so there was so much fun stuff you could do. Yeah, and all the missions were really unique as well. They had a lot of different stuff you could do in introducing it. The water combat was really good. Actually, that's a good point about Red Alert 1 to 2. Red Alert Red Alert 1 to Command and Conquer. You had actually some Navy stuff in Red Alert. Whilst Red Alert 2 very heavily, you could do a lot of Navy stuff, which was great. Yeah, everything just was fun. Yeah, graphically it looked great. You can still play Red Alert 2. It's incredibly still playable.
I do still play Red Alert 2.
Yeah, exactly. I keep going back and and playing the multiplayer, playing the skirmishes where you could pick different allied factions to get different bonuses, just added so much more replayability to it.
Absolutely.
So I'd say Red Alert 2 has to be S.
Yep.
I think that's like peak.
It's it redefined the genre to my mind. It said that maps should be interactable. Factions should be very visually distinct, and it should also inform how they play. Like, the Allies were high tech, which meant their units did a lot of damage, moved fairly quickly, couldn't stand up in a complete stand-up fight for the most part. Whereas the Soviets, heavier, slower, and you didn't ever want to be caught by them flat-footed because they would mess you up.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the fact that even the cost difference, like a GI was 200 credits, a conscript was 100.
Yep, but the GI came with the machine gun deployment, which made it very dangerous.
Exactly.
Plus,
you could do more stuff with it, but it was more expensive. So that's your different faction abilities. Like, it just...
Exactly. Plus, I think S tier on 2 words alone. Kirov reporting.
Exactly. Like, having... you could do a lot of fun stuff as soon as you unlocked air combat in pretty much both games. Command and Conquer, when you just had all the orcas and you just built nothing but 10 airstrips, helipads, and you just send all the Apaches. I think they were orcas or Apaches. I forget the name of the unit, but you just send in all the missile helicopters and you just bomb their base. You had options. So yeah, I think Red Alert 2, that had the best. That had the most replayability, and it just looks fantastic.
Yep.
All right, so I guess now we're looking at generals.
Nope. Yuri's Revenge is on that list as I see it.
Yuri's Revenge. I forgot about that. Yeah, because it came out pretty much straight after.
Straight after. It was exactly a year.
And I think it's got to have the S as well. Because for what it
takes a great game and just adds on it. All the both of the existing factions, wholly new units. You've got all across the space. The Allies had Tanya, the Soviets didn't have anything. Then they got Boris, and it really did just improve what was already existing. But on top of that, added a third whole faction with technology so wildly different from what the other two were running. It was zany in the extreme, and I loved it.
It was like their version of Tiberium Sun. It was like their version of sci-fi network stuff, but it was the old campy style. So it's literally communists on the moon. It's
literally, and that was the best mission.
Yeah, you had cosmonauts, and you had to fly around on the moon. So you went back in time, and you shot dinosaurs, like the those old exploitation type films when you're on Dinosaur Island. It's those old retro stuff. So it very much had a theme it was going with. It was very much a callback to those sort of types of movies and that sort of genre of weird sci-fi, and it just played it up so well.
Yes.
So yeah, and it just took the same game. It's like, all right, you may be a little... It's like, we don't want to give you the same as Red Alert 2. We'll give you a bunch of wacky stuff you can do this time. We're just building it on just to be really fun this time. You don't have to take it as serious. Yeah, so yeah, everything Red Alert 2 was just great.
Yep.
That's
And everything that's up on the board right now, this is Westwood. The next piece that's going on here is Generals, and that's when EA is taken over.
Well, yeah, because in between this was, yeah, Westwood failed on two fronts. They made an MMO, which I had a bit of a look. It doesn't look interesting at all. The other one was Renegade, and I liked Renegade a lot.
Mm.
But, yeah, it just...
It didn't take off the same.
No, because, I mean, people like first-person shooters, so I don't know why they didn't like a first-person shooter set in Command & Conquer.
Have played all the way through it as well. The campaign was great. I think, however, it implied a lot more in terms of what was going to be available in multiplayer. And Renegade was fundamentally designed to be like a multiplayer game.
And yeah, I played a bunch of it multiplayer, and it was great. You could sneak into people's bases. You could do all sorts of, sneaky shenanigans, or you could just grab a tank, frontal assault them. There was a lot of options, but yeah, just didn't quite pull it off. So EA acquired, well, because I think it was Virgin Interactive at that point, and then they were acquired by EA. But either way, EA got its fingers into it, and it got off to a good start with Generals.
Yep.
Now, I didn't actually play Generals, but I watched a lot of it being played. I had friends who played it, so I just watched them play it, and I really liked the whole mechanics of it. Because, again, it splits off again from the weird sci-fi stuff and just comes back to, we're grounded, we're a proper military setting. This is a real-world conflict that you're going to be playing in.
I did play Generals. I think it was for like the last part of my high school, 3-4 years, maybe even 5 years. It was literally the only game I played.
Yeah, I was the same with Red Alert 2. But yeah, I liked sort of, the more realistic thing to it. People did notice that it didn't have the cutscenes in it. It was very much a bare base sort of version, like very much like Command & Conquer 1. It was sort of like a return to that. And you had... This is where they brought the 3D element back into it. Because at this time, games went away from the old style where you had static maps and you had pixel assets. And this is when we switched to 3D assets. And that was a step down for a long time.
Just because it was so new and they didn't really have the time, the space, the wherewithal to make things look actually really good. Given that so much of the campaign is set in the Middle East, it's like, what smoothed over a set of yellow hills will I be fighting on today?
Yeah, but it was really the problem of like all games that came out that time. Because I think one of the Dark Rain games was around that time, and you were just on weird blue mountains, and like everything just looks like a block. Every vehicle is a set of blocks on other blocks, and
you had to walk before you could run in this case.
Exactly. So there was a lot of walking before things actually started looking good, but mechanics-wise, it was good.
It added a few interesting new things. Like it abandoned the Conyard approach where you had one central building that built all your other buildings for construction dozers. That meant you could build wherever you could get one of your construction dozers or a peasant in one of the other factions, which was questionable at the time. It also meant that you could actively repair only with those construction units. So you can't see a damaged building, click a button on your interface, and off you go. It's a whole endeavor. It also added two things the other games hadn't had yet. One was repeatable super weapons. You could build multiple nuclear missile silos, multiple particle cannons, and if you could steal one of the construction units from the other factions, you could build all of their buildings as well. The other thing it added was general's powers. You had a series of points that you accumulated through combat that you could then spend on these call-in support powers. Airstrikes, surprise attacks, things like that. And it it shook up the way combat was approached in Command and Conquer games, basically for generals and for Red Alert going forward, because combat was a means to an end beyond just beating your opponent. It could make you more powerful.
Exactly. I think that really, yeah. I mean, it very much feels like how StarCraft 2 then sort of like went about its stuff, where you have this in the campaign at least. You could progress your research and stuff.
Yeah,
It
there's
added,
meta progression.
yeah, exactly. So that was pretty good. You saw a lot more of that in 0 Hour as well.
Oh yeah.
They really advanced on that. So
The problem that the original generals had was you had the three factions, you had the samey looking maps, the replayability was low. The engagement in the campaign wasn't great. I still think as an innovative game, it's probably an A, but 0 Hour improved on base generals in every possible way.
would you say they're both A's then?
I'd actually say 0 Hour is an S because it took three factions up to basically 12, and it added the General's Challenge, which I spent so much time
Oh
playing.
yeah,
Because
yeah. I was reading about that.
yeah, it was great. Like you had you finally had faces to your factions, and they had weird specialized technology, and you could fight these people, and they'd have these zany ass bases. The guy with lasers, literally built himself up on a star fort in Random Town, USA.
They had a lot of fun. They're probably not aged very well. Voice lines throughout the whole thing, which we thought was pretty fun back in the early 2000s.
Oh yeah, it was peak humor at the time.
Now we sure are villainizing these Middle Easterners quite a lot, but are we really? Then again,
I feel like in-depth comment is for different videos in this case.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, it was definitely good. Like I enjoyed the hell out of watching the series and seeing how other games very much were influenced by it. But then I think we had June Emperor pretty soon after that.
That's about the time, yeah, because
Yeah,
CNC3 didn't come out until 07.
Exactly. So you had June Emperor, which was very similar to Dune 2000, but again, it looks kind of ugly. I did like how there are multiple missions that are on different planets, so you do go to an ice world. You're not just stuck on Arrakis the whole time.
The factions were very visually distinct this time.
Oh,
around.
very much so. You had completely different lineups for your different factions. You had the secondary factions as well. You could either support Ix or Tailaxu and get different units again.
Yep.
And then, of course, it had the big twist at the end where you thought you were fighting the other factions, but now there's a there's a big twist at the end, which is crazy. And yeah, I did like how there was a whole little mini sort of stuff you could do within the game to get different faction support and stuff. You could help the Sardaukar, you could help the all the different people, the Fremen, and to get them help you fight. So yeah, it was a good challenge for a lot of it. Gameplay wise, it's just not super playable.
No, you feel the blockiness in a lot of the units.
Yeah.
They're hard to maneuver.
Very much so. So I have tried to replay it again. I'm like, I can't really get super into
It's
this.
hard. It's really hard.
But I did love the story. The story in it's very good, and it's very Lynchian Dune. Because that's what I'd say. It's just a separate arc off of the Dune storyline. It's
Absolutely.
it's its own little entity of alternate sort of history. I definitely probably give it an A. As much as I loved it, I can't. It's not on the same level as June 2000, but
No.
that's mostly just the constraints of changing how RTSs were working completely. Like it was one of the first ones I played where you could actually change your camera angle. You could zoom in on things and spin things around.
Yep.
Which is now the default, but back then it was very, very new. And then, of course, we get Command & Conquer 3.
This is Command and Conquer that spent time in the oven. It's been cooking. It's been working on its visual fidelity. It's been working on its identity. And
Mm.
it's come out with the next step in its storyline. And while the story is interesting, think they may have fallen off the band. I'm of the opinion they fell off the bandwagon by trying to align with the other titles by saying, okay, we're going to put a third faction in this one.
But then again, the third faction, I feel, was kind of needed just so you weren't, rehashing the same storylines. I mean, and because they introduced that in Tiberium's Sun. Like, oh yeah, there's an alien race and it is going to be coming soon.
Yep.
So I felt they did kind of have to bring it in, kind of like in Halo with the flood. Eventually that had to come in. I think it's just the natural progression of how, friends and enemies sort of team up to have to fight a third enemy to both of them. I mean, it's happened. I think it happened in StarCraft. It just happens. It's a very, I want to say basic, but it's a very common sort of thread of how to keep how these sort of wars progress. You sort of see these things, but I mean, they did play very different. The alien faction to the other ones, so
I feel like their almost complete use of Tiberium in like the fundamental part of it just radically changed what options they had available. Like the fact that their basic infantry did nearly no damage to any vehicles, to any buildings, like it was chip damage at best, but would instantly slaughter any infantry it touched.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of like in Yuri's Revenge. You had the mutants in that. So, yeah, a lot of people did like it. I think it looks very good. I do like the graphics. It is a great upgrade over your generals and your emperor, and it did get pretty well received. And like we said, it had such a good cast. You had Ironside, you had Billy D. Williams, you had the guy from Lost, and Lost was very popular at the time, so everyone was pretty happy he was in it. Yeah, it's still at a pretty high rating on Steam as well. People have a lot of fond memories.
Yep, absolutely.
Does it get the A then, or does it?
I think it gets the A, yeah.
All right, if that gets the A. Wrath of Cain probably stays the A as well.
Yeah, they tried doing what they did in Generals, subtypes of the different factions that sort of added things.
That's right. And they
The
bought
campaign,
the campaign map, the conquest mode, which is
yeah, I played that a bit. I didn't enjoy it too much. Like it was way more strategic than any of the previous like long-running campaign stuff. You could plan your bases, you could determine what was in them, and then that would show up when you fought on that area. But it's also like it didn't really resonate with me.
no, that's fair enough. But I feel they're on the same level. It's because it is increasing on what you already had with the first game. It's actually adding something so you can play a different way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel 3. It didn't have the same effect of the other games. Like I think Red Alert 2 probably did a lot better than Command & Conquer 3.
Yes.
But it was still, it was still good. A lot of people still really liked it. But I think at the time, just RTSs in general was sort of becoming less popular. I think, yeah, because we were coming straight into like the Xbox era.
Yep. That was Halo. It was Battlefield. It was Call of Duty. I think Medal of Honor was having its last hurrah at the time. There was a lot going on in other areas, and strategy was in its innovate or die sort of phase, and it was trying.
Yeah, no, that's true. So it wasn't all its fault. Intention. It tried. But yeah, then of course we got Red Alert 3. Red Alert 3, I hate. I really don't like it. I think it's probably one of the, well, not the worst, you'll see, but it's
Objectively not, yeah.
it is pretty bad. It's still got okay. I know the Steam ratings, it's pretty positive, but its actual like ING rating is like at a 60 or whatever.
Yep.
What I didn't like about it was like the mission. Like, I like that they kept the acting. I think they probably spent too much on the actors' budget
Hmm.
because of course we got who played the Russian guy? Tim Curry.
Yes.
Tim Curry, of course, massive actor. Tim Curry. You get him in to play some very campy lines.
Yep.
Everyone loves the
He
space.
loved it, but he could barely keep a straight face.
It was very funny. You had J.
J.K.
Jonah.
Simmons,
Yeah, you
president.
had J. Jonah Jameson in it. You had George Takai.
Yep.
Oh man, the Japanese parts were so like racist. I don't know how they got away with it. I don't know how Takai accepted it. We're just
If he's okay with it, like, surely it can't be that bad, right?
oh god, but they were there just sitting in samurai armor with bonsai trees. I was like,
Yep.
wow, you're not even trying to look.
Nah.
So
Nah.
it, I don't know how well it's aged, but
It's I poke back in on it occasionally just to see. I think my problem is that the AI doesn't really play in the game with you. You
no.
have call-in abilities like you had in generals, but the AI is just like, oh, I know you're calling in an ability. I'm going to divert my entire army away from it so it does nothing. There was a severe shift. It had the most navy in any of the Command and Conquer games. You could build your base on the water. You could
That's right. Yeah.
harvest resources on the water. And it's like, cool, but the naval area and the land area didn't really interact properly. It didn't, like, to my mind, if you wanted your navy to have a great sense of strength, instead of having ring of water around block of land, you needed a lot more like rivers and things big enough you could sail ships up.
Yeah, exactly. You know, what's Nightboat going to do without an inlet or a fjord? So yeah, my problem with it was as well as graphically, it looks horrible. Because everything is just hyper colored.
Mhm.
They
Saturated so hard on
it's
my.
it's so saturated. The minimap has no texture or detail at all. It has the
Nope.
worst. Its minimap is like Command and Conquer 1 minimap, where it's just blocks of color. It helped nothing. The Like I said, we sort of got like the fun stuff, like you had Tesla units, you had radiation stuff, you had fun sort of stuff. This leaned in far too hard,
Yep.
and it became ridiculous. I hated every Japanese unit, like the giant mech that was three samurai mechs stuck together.
It was not good.
It was so like everything just felt so bad. Um, and
And it, they
everything had too many. Like I was saying, it was good that things had extra abilities. Everything had an ability. Not everything needs a secondary ability.
and a
So
lot of those abilities are very silly. Like, it's funny, but I would never in a million years use this in a combat scenario.
no, exactly. Like it just requires so much then micro to sort of get the best out of it. But again,
And I think
like
that was the problem. Like, the shift towards micro. StarCraft 2 was running at this time, and everyone was looking at Blizzard with this big game that they've got that has become the pillar of strategy esports. Korea was completely nuts for it. It was all blasted all over the world, big tournaments, big cash prizes, and everyone's like, okay, we need to make our strategy games more micro intensive. We need to make them in arenas that are mirrored so everything is fit for a tournament, but we also need to make things different enough that it's visually distinct. And they dialed every dial to 11 and forgot that they actually should have tested this with people rather than just whatever executive decided it was a good money scheme.
yeah, no, they really. A lot of people dropped the ball with this one.
I think the biggest thing that annoyed me was in any of the other games up on this list right now, you have fields, areas of resources. Your harvester leaves your base, goes somewhere precarious, gathers resources, comes back. This drives the conflict. your intent is to gather resources while preventing your opponent from getting their own resources to build bigger bases, more tanks, and rush at one another. And because you don't have your harvesters leave your base, because in Red Alert 3, you had these big boxes full of resources, and you just built the refinery next to them, and the presence of a harvester seemed almost like that's 20 feet away. Build a conveyor belt and just harvest straight from it directly. It prevented the conflict. It stopped you from doing anything other than building your army and mashing them against one another. There was no bigger goal. There was no strategy to it, really. And it's like you boiled down every part of strategy to its bare essentials. You have the minestrone soup, but you've ruined the potatoes.
Pretty much. Yeah. For what it did okay, it ruins everything else. Also, I hated how its hand-holding features. Like the fact that you have a secondary like AI, you have a
The
secondary.
whole campaign was co-op. Please explain.
Yeah, I think they were expecting people to like do it more. Like they really wanted this to be a multiplayer thing, but that just ruined the single player experience.
Mhm.
And
The idea that you either have to be saved by this AI companion who can't trust you to do it on your own, or you have to constantly divert stuff to save them.
yeah, it's just so weird. I don't even remember the super weapons from the game, honestly. I think they were just
Had the big allied Gatling energy cannon because Einstein got erased this time, and it's like, that's not how you preserve the timeline at all. You had the vacuum imploder because, again, no Einstein, so obviously no one could invent nukes. And the Japs, so you've got a big missile and a big energy cannon, and over there, the Empire of Japan has a swarm of nanobots that devours everything. I feel like there's a technological difference.
there's a weird divide in this. Yeah. So yeah, I'd give Red Alert 3C.
Yep.
Just because. So then you had the expansion, Red Alert 3. This added literally nothing.
It actually took things away
Yeah,
because multiplayer didn't work in that.
And they had the campaign with the Yuri campaign. You were the girl. That was just a mobile game.
Yep.
It was just a pre-mobile game. In fact, the whole Red Alert 3 just looks like a mobile game.
It really does, unfortunately.
That is the aesthetic it went for. So Red Alert 3, yeah, and it added like 4 extra missions. It wasn't even a full game.
It did have a different thing attached to it, like they tried with Generals. It was you drop into the setting, you have all 3 factions, but they are at the most basic tech level. You've got like maybe conscript level infantry. And the whole deal is you go through battle by battle to unlock 1 unit at a time for each faction until you get right up to the high tier units. And I almost made it through, but the last couple of missions were so overbearingly difficult, and I gave up. I could not care.
Yeah, no, it robbed you. Like, what am I getting out of this?
My sense of achievement, my EA delivered sense of achievement.
Yeah, I remember there were a couple levels like that in 3 where just the difficulty just spiked for no reason, and you never really understood why.
Yep.
So that was very unfortunate for the series to end like that, and then even more unfortunate with Command & Conquer 4, which I don't know.
It's not a strategy game.
No, I don't know what.
It's a tactics game.
Yeah, I don't know what they were trying to do.
I know exactly what they were trying to do. They're like, you know what? Our problem with Red Alert 3 is we didn't MOBA hard enough.
Yeah. Yeah, and I
Explain to me the part where a strategy game does not have resourcing, does not have bases.
Yeah, it was just population cap and weird unit caps. Yeah.
Oh, they also took away the third faction from the previous title. You're back to 2 factions.
Yep. Just to make anything slightly more interesting.
I actually played through the campaign, both campaigns of Command & Conquer 4, and the story was unabashedly the worst Command & Conquer story I'd ever read, because you're the same character in both timelines, and the same things happen. It's just a choice of whether you believe Kane very obviously lying in your face or not.
Yeah, it feels very much like it's going backwards. It
Yep.
went completely backwards from Command and Conquer 3. Like it doesn't look like it's in a sci-fi future anymore. It looks like it's it was just such a weird choice all around for everything that it did.
And it was story-wise the tombstone of Command and Conquer. The end result is Kane left. Like those gigantic tower things you had to try and defend as Nod in the last game, that allows him to leave. How does he leave? Through like the weird portal stone thing that they had in that one episode of the original series of Star Trek. He just steps through that and leaves.
Yeah, it's man. They could almost make a movie out of it. Almost.
They could. Almost. It's like, they probably should have instead of giving us this.
Yeah.
If there were an E on this scale, I'd give it an E. If there were a Z on this scale, I'd give it a Z.
Well, that's it.
It is the worst, and where I consider the entire series to end, despite the fact that we have now suffered through 15 full years of mobile game slop of like the worst order.
Yeah. No, it's literally, it's probably why we have so many mobile games like the way they are, is because of that. That would have influenced it.
Yep. The one thing I can say that is good is how much the death of this, like, the entire genre was shocked into essentially homeostasis for like 8 to 10 years. Nothing really came out that did anything. Like, you had Company of Heroes, you had Supreme Commander, but it's really, really not Command and Conquer style.
No.
And then eventually, it started to come back. You have some new things like Tempest Rising's soundtrack is Frank Kaplaki. There he is again.
He sticks around.
He sticks around. And it's just, people are like, no, we miss this, but we can't trust EA to ever develop this again, so we're going to make it on our own.
Well, that's why it's good that, yeah, most RTS now is pretty much all indie developers. There aren't many big studios aside from, I want to say Blizzard, but it's like they're not even doing that anymore. They keep StarCraft 2 there to be a competitive game, but I don't think we're ever going to get StarCraft 3. We're never going to get Warcraft 4.
We're never getting Warcraft 4. It's gone to other indie developers. Like there's a game on Steam at the moment called The Scouring. And if you go and look at The Scouring right now on Steam, like one of the first pictures it shows is the town hall of the orcs, and you're like, oh, that's literally Warcraft 2 right there. That's literally a 3D rendition.
Well, that's it. So much of these games are just being remastered and replayable. Like they're just updating the old stuff. Because they're not bringing out any new stuff essentially. And everything's like different. Like when we played Iron Harvest, that was a good example of them trying to sort of come back. But of course, everything's like you have to have checkpoints. You have to have like map areas that you claim area. Nothing's just wipe out your enemy. There's
no physical resources to dig up. Like you fight over little flag points.
Yeah, so I'd say pretty much anyone who's sticking with it just sticks to like StarCraft 2, and that's pretty much where the end point is. You just keep playing that competitive, and I still watch it. I still love watching StarCraft 2. But that's its end note. So
it fell off a cliff. It fell off a cliff so hard it didn't bounce.
Yeah. So, but we still got a lot of indie stuff to look forward to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's coming back. It's very much like I've been playing through a bunch of demos on Steam that's happening right now, and like there's one called Crimson Freedom, which looks like it's Red Alert style Command and Conquer. Scouring is Warcraft 4, just with a different name. You still got your Warhammer strategy games coming up. You've got Total War.
Yeah, we got Dawn of War 4 coming up soon.
Tempest Rising, despite its little politicized issues, which, to be fair, is pretty serious. But
Mm.
I'm also of the opinion that, like, I'm looking at the Command and Conquer icons on my desktop right now. I've got like CNC3, Kane's Wrath, General, Zero Hour, but I've also got Red Alert 3 even. I've also got like 7 different mods for these games. And you can keep playing Command and Conquer games from years gone by with so much added into them because the community is keeping the good ones alive.
Like I remember, yeah, even early like mods because I remember back in the PC Game Magazine was the game editor program. They made a game editor program for Command and Conquer. I think it was mostly Red Alert. So I'd go into the game file and I changed the attack dog. I changed its attack animation and its attack to be the V2 rocket. So I went in and I changed the dog so when it attacked something from really far away, it just turned into a rocket, flew across the map, and then turned back into a dog to attack an infantryman.
Good grief. Very good.
So yeah, even back then, it was so easy to mod these things out. So, you know, that's just a message of there's still hope. These things,
There is still hope.
these things are still there. They're still mostly playable. They're still part of history, and things are still going forward. Just there's just times when we just clicked off and said, "Yep, that area's done." We can just say seal that in its container. We can just compartmentalize and say, "Yep, that area's done. Now this new area's in phase."
Yep.
And I think that yeah. I guess if you look at the timeline with that, it's like, yeah, the base stuff, the very first stuff was like, it's good when they started doing new things.
Mhm.
Then they improved on those things, and then they went too far. And that's
Yep.
when things fall apart. I guess that maybe that just means things have their own lifespan.
They do. Like, that's the thing. From Dune 2 to Command and Conquer 4 is 16 years. Not
Yep.
even old enough to vote.
It's a pretty short lifespan, but
Yeah, but so much happened in there.
yeah, I guess, when you look at it from a technological level, like, back when our grandparents were alive, they didn't even have energy. And here we are now alive, and we've got space scattered with technology. We have things in space constantly around us.
We've got so much technology around us, we're now having a hard time what's true and what's been totally fabricated.
Yeah, no, yeah, what a life we live. All right, well, we can end it there. This will take me a while to edit, so that's good. But yeah, let us know what you guys think. If this was on it, if you disagree with them. I know that I think Tiberium's Son people did like it a lot more than I give it credit for, but I just comparing to the other stuff, I just can't give it more than the B. But I understand if people like it a lot more. But yeah, I'll die on that hill that Red Alert 3 is garbage and was the sign of the end times.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.
Catch you next time.